The energy around Celtic Park tonight is already building, and it's not just because of the football. There's a sense of fresh momentum in the air, and a big part of that comes from off-the-pitch developments that unfolded late last night. With a Europa League clash against Braga on the horizon, the timing couldn't be more crucial. But before we even get into what Brendan Rodgers is plotting for the pitch, it's worth talking about the shift happening in the stands and beyond. Celtic fans had planned a silent protest tonight, part of a 3-match demonstration aimed at sending a clear message to the club's board about ongoing concerns. That protest, though, has now been postponed. Why? Because Celtic's hierarchy finally picked up the phone. A late-night statement from the Celtic Fans Collective confirmed that the club has extended an invitation for a meeting set for the coming Monday. Names like Michael Nicholson and Chris McKay are expected to represent the club in what looks like a pivotal sit-down with several major fan organizations. And here's the thing. While the club didn't specifically acknowledge the Celtic Fans Collective by name in the invitation, the outcome is what matters most right now. This is the dialogue that fans have been demanding, and by pushing forward in unity, the supporters have shown just how powerful a united Celtic base can be. The silence worked. It shook the boardroom enough to bring them to the table. Whether it leads to any real change, of course, remains to be seen, but this at least opens the door. The fan groups involved include a broad coalition from across the Celtic spectrum: the Green Brigade, the Celtic Trust, supporters clubs from Ireland and the North, disabled supporters associations, and more. Each group can send up to 2 representatives, and while most fans won't have a seat at the meeting, there's a strong hope that the details will be made public, not by the club, necessarily, but certainly by those in attendance. Because let's be honest, the frustration that's been building hasn't been about a lack of passion or loyalty from the fans. It's been about a lack of communication, a lack of transparency, and a feeling that those at the top have been out of touch. That's why tonight's game carries more than just footballing importance. It's a moment for the Celtic support to come together again, with the protest postponed and the focus back on the pitch. It's about backing the team from the first whistle, especially in a European game that could play a huge part in how this season is remembered. And speaking of tonight, Brendan Rodgers gave his thoughts in yesterday's press conference, though many of his comments already feel outdated after the protest news broke. He had been preparing for a quieter opening half-hour at Celtic Park, but now it looks like the stadium will be in full voice right from the start. That's huge. Rodgers himself said he hoped both sides, the board and the fans, could find some common ground, and now there's a chance to do just that. On the football side of things, Rodgers seems optimistic. He knows this won't be an easy game. Braga are no pushovers, and even though this isn't the Champions League, it's still a high-level test. The manager highlighted the draw in Belgrade last week as a decent platform to build from. He knows the team needs to step it up, but there's confidence there too. He talked up the qualities of Kelechi Iheanacho, hinting that the striker's bit of European pedigree could be key tonight. It's hard not to agree. When you look at the current squad, Iheanacho is one of the few players who brings that touch of unpredictability, that bit of flair you need on nights like this. Rodgers also confirmed that this would be a special moment for Kobe Donovan, who's set to make his first ever start at Celtic Park tonight, after showing real promise in his away appearances. Rodgers also offered some insight into squad fitness. Rio Hatate is back in training, though it's unclear whether he's fit enough to start. Alistair Johnston is also closing in on a return. He's expected to rejoin training during the international break and could be available for selection in the match against Dundee. But for now, with Kobe Donovan playing well at right back, there's no rush. Midfield remains a concern. Rodgers is likely to stick with McGregor, Negrin, and Hatate, if fit, but that trio hasn't quite clicked this season. There's growing pressure to give Paulo Bernardo more opportunities. The Portuguese midfielder has had a rough time with injuries, but now that he's fully fit, there's hope he can offer something different. Rodgers hinted that Bernardo might feature tonight, and with the midfield in need of a spark, his inclusion could be timely. And then there's the front three. Sebastian Tenki on the left, Dyson Maeda on the right, and Iheanacho through the middle looks like the most balanced setup right now. Maeda looked sharp against Hibs, and Tenki continues to impress with his directness and work rate. The hope is that this trio can build momentum and start dragging the rest of the team up with them. As for Braga, they've got their own problems. Key midfielder Gabriel Mascardo is out due to physical fatigue, and defenders Oliveira and Doilos are also unavailable. Brendan Rodgers expects them to line up in a 3-4-3, although some reckon they might shift into more of a 3-5-2. Either way, their wingbacks, Gomez and Lello, will be crucial. They bomb forward with intent, but also track back quickly to form a solid five-man line. If Celtic can move the ball quickly and isolate Braga's central defenders, there could be real opportunities to exploit gaps. The tempo will be everything. Up front, Braga have Elizani, a physical striker who'll be a handful, and Ricardo Horta, their captain and creative engine. At 30-something years of age, Horta still has the vision and technique to hurt you. João Moutinho is another name to watch. He's 39 now, but remains a classy operator. Celtic will need to stay switched on defensively, especially in transitions. And here's where things get a bit nostalgic. In training, Brendan Rodgers has been drawing on the spirit of Seville. After the exit from the Champions League, he reminded the players of the 2003 run to the UEFA Cup final, a journey that began in disappointment and ended in one of the most celebrated seasons in the club's history, despite not lifting the trophy. It's a smart move. That campaign captured the imagination of supporters, and even though that Celtic squad was much stronger than the current one, the message is clear: build momentum, and anything can happen in Europe. Ticket sales suggest fans are buying into that idea. At first glance, it looked like there were plenty of seats still available, but a closer look reveals that most remaining tickets are singles, scattered throughout the stadium. The top rows of the upper tiers seem to be closed off, likely held for season ticket holders or simply not released for this fixture. Still, with early kickoff and all the noise around the club lately, pulling in around 45,000 supporters tonight would be a massive statement. It shows that, even when things aren't perfect, Celtic fans will turn up for European nights. This isn't the Champions League, sure, but it's still a real test, and Braga are arguably stronger than any domestic opposition Celtic will face all season. These are the matches that reveal character, not just in the team, but in the support. A result tonight, especially following the announcement of that postponed protest and the meeting with the board, could shift the mood around the entire club. The noise tonight is going to matter. Celtic Park under the lights always brings something extra, but after everything that's happened off the pitch, the return of full-throated support feels even more important. Brendan Rodgers knows that. The players know it. And if there's one thing that can help push this team beyond its limits, it's the crowd. That's why postponing the silent protest feels like the right move. It's not about backing down. It's about choosing the right moment to stand behind the team while still demanding more from those running the club. That protest, for all the mixed feelings around it, did what it was meant to do. It made the board uncomfortable. It forced a response. It showed that the fans weren't going to be taken for granted. And now, with a meeting confirmed for Monday, the collective is shifting its approach. They've already hinted that future demonstrations will take different forms, possibly more active, more visible, and certainly louder. There's even talk of a coordinated day of action during the upcoming home fixture against Kilmarnock, close to the club's AGM. That timing is no coincidence. But that's for another day. Tonight, it's all eyes on Europe. And while Braga might not be the biggest name in the tournament, they're the kind of opponent that demands respect. They've got depth, experience, and a way of playing that can make life difficult if you're not sharp from the off. Celtic's last performance away in Belgrade gave a glimpse of what this squad is capable of when it clicks, but it also exposed some of the flaws that have crept in this season, particularly in the middle of the park. The midfield has been a puzzle. McGregor is still a reliable presence, but the balance around him hasn't quite been right. Negrin has had flashes, but he's yet to fully convince. Hatate, when fit, brings a bit of creativity, but even he hasn't reached the levels fans have come to expect. That's where the calls for Paulo Bernardo come in. He's the wild card, a player who, despite limited minutes, has the technical quality and drive to offer something different. If he can get a proper run, and if he's fully fit now as Rodgers suggests, he might just be the spark that changes things. Rodgers mentioned Bernardo's injury struggles last season and spoke about how he's now training well and fighting for his place. That's encouraging, especially when so many of the summer signings have yet to make any real impact. Some of them, like Simpson Pugh, are barely even in the conversation anymore. It's hard to say whether we'll see those players again in meaningful action this season. But at least in Bernardo, there's still a sense of possibility. That midfield needs something fresh, something a bit more forward-thinking. And right now, he might be the best option for that. Looking further forward, the front three is starting to look more settled. Tinky has become a reliable presence on the left, bringing pace and intent. Maeda's work rate on the right is invaluable, especially in European matches where pressing high and quick transitions can make all the difference. And then there's Iheanacho. He might not be the most prolific striker Celtic have had in recent years, but what he does bring is composure, awareness, and that little bit of European know-how. His performance in Belgrade showed that. He linked play well, held up the ball, and found himself in good areas. Another goal tonight, and fans might really start to believe that he can be the man to lead the line in this campaign. At the back, things look more secure than they did a few weeks ago. Schmeichel in goal brings calmness. He's experienced, vocal, and while he's not making wonder saves every game, he's exactly the sort of keeper you want in European ties. The back four should remain unchanged from last week. Donovan at right back, Tierney on the left, and Carter Vickers alongside Scales in the middle. That unit seems to have found some rhythm. Donovan, especially, has been a standout in recent weeks. For such a young player, he carries himself with real confidence. And tonight could be a special moment for him, his first ever start at Celtic Park. If he continues on this path, he's going to be hard to displace, even when Johnston returns fully fit after the break. Braga's threats are clear. Their wingbacks are aggressive, always pushing high up the pitch. If Celtic can get behind them quickly, there will be space to exploit. But if the build-up is slow, if the passing lacks tempo, Braga will drop into a compact shape and frustrate. That's the danger. Players like João Moutinho and Ricardo Horta may be older, but they bring a level of calm and craft that could punish any lapses in concentration. And Elizani up top offers a physical challenge for Carter Vickers and Scales. He's not going to be easy to handle, especially if Braga are allowed to build through the middle. What Celtic need tonight is urgency, movement, purpose. It's not about playing the perfect game. It's about taking control early, feeding off the crowd, and not letting Braga settle. Rodgers knows that. He's been here before. And though this squad might not be as strong as some of the European sides he's led in the past, it has potential. The Seville reference earlier this week wasn't just for nostalgia. It was a reminder of what's possible when a team starts to believe, and when the fans do too. Back then, the UEFA Cup run started after disappointment. It picked up steam round by round, and before long, it became something magical. That squad had stars, of course, but it also had belief, togetherness, and a manager who knew how to get the most out of his group. Rodgers is clearly trying to tap into that same energy now. He knows the frustration among the supporters. He knows the club didn't do enough in the summer window. But he also knows the Europa League gives Celtic a second chance, not just to compete, but to build something. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers have been swirling around Glasgow this week, and they all carry the same familiar name, Jack Hendry. The former Celtic defender, who once left Parkhead under a cloud of doubt and unfinished business, is now being tipped for a sensational return. The chatter has grown louder in pubs, on supporters' buses, and across the back pages, with many suggesting that Brendan Rodgers sees Hendry as the man to tighten up Celtic's sometimes vulnerable backline. Hendry, now a more seasoned and confident figure after spells abroad, is said to have impressed with his aerial dominance in recent seasons. Those who followed his progress in Belgium and later in the Middle East claim that he has added steel and maturity to his game, ironing out the raw edges that once drew criticism during his first stint in green and white. For a Celtic side that has struggled at times with set-piece defending, the prospect of Hendry's commanding presence is seen as a potential solution. Nothing official has been announced, of course. This is still in the realm of hushed rumors, the type of story that grows arms and legs in Scottish football long before any signatures are put to paper. Yet, there is a sense of inevitability about it, as though both player and club know the story was never truly finished. The whispers suggest negotiations are already advanced, with Hendry keen to prove himself again at Celtic Park and to show supporters he is no longer the player who left with his reputation under question. Some within the Celtic support remain skeptical. Memories of his early performances linger, and not everyone is convinced a return would match the club's lofty ambitions. But others argue that Scottish football has a habit of offering second chances, and Hendry's physical presence, coupled with his improved positional sense, could be exactly what Rodgers needs as the season grinds on. For now, it is only a rumor. A rumor wrapped in nostalgia, fueled by hope, and whispered in the streets of Glasgow. But as history often shows, in Scottish football where there is smoke, there is often fire. And Jack Hendry's return to Celtic might just be the spark that sets Parkhead buzzing once more. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.